thoughts about what I can do, Lizzie?
Section 4, one word or a number. Interesting.
That is the end of section 3.
Shut up, I don't care. Concert in...
Section 4.
Ah, damn it.
You will hear a British university lecturer in music talking about concerts in an arts festival.
Tushunarli.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Qarab oling, mana concert 1, 2, 3 ta konsert haqida gap bo'lar ekan. Australian composer kerak emas bizga muhim studied piano and before turning into compositionga borishdan oldin piano bilan yana qanaqadir instrumentni o'rgangan ekan. Gitar bo'lishi mumkin masalan. Composition shows a great deal of and are drawn from various cultural resources. Nimani ko'rish mumkin? Variety ko'rish mumkin. Ko'ramiz. Noun ko'rsatdi. Her music is very expressive and also adjective bo'ladi. Beautiful bo'lishi mumkin. Festival include her something, her play bo'lishi mumkin, her composition bo'lishi mumkin, qisqasi qanaqadir san'at asari bo'ladi. Her music bo'lishi mumkin prosta. Lim describes the sound in orchestra as Lim sound orkestradagi soundni adjective beautiful deb anaqa qilgan yoki nima noun bo'ladi. Magnificent deyish mumkin, ugly deyish mumkin. Qisqasi the tower of remoteness is performed. Shut up, we're describing by piano and something. Qanaqadir muzikal gitar bo'lishi mumkin, fleyta bo'lishi mumkin, flute bo'lishi mumkin. Ko'ramiz. Qanaqadir muzikal instrument bo'ladi 36 da. Celebrates Australia's cultural. Australiyaning kulturini nimasindir celebrate qilar ekan. Studied nima before studying music. Muzikni study qilishdan oldin nimadir o'rgangan ekan. Demak bu boshqa sfera bo'ladi. Biology, physics, chemistry shunaqa narsa bo'lishi kerak. Became well known as composer of music for nimagadir. For masalan for military bo'lishi mumkin, for army bo'lishi mumkin, for comedy bo'lishi mumkin, for movie. Qanaqadir nima uchundir bo'lgan, nimadir qanaqadir aytdim-ku, movie uchun bo'lgandir. Masalan, muzikni kompozer sifatida mashhur bo'lgan. Festival will include his music for the 1996 bir narsa noun bo'ladi bu ham. Ketdik.
And answer questions 31 to 40.
Let's go.
As you all know, the university is planning an arts festival for later this year. And here in the music department, we've planned 3 concerts. These will be public performances, and the program has just been finalized. The theme of the festival is links between the UK and Australia, and this is reflected in the music. Each concert will feature both British and Australian composers. I'll tell you briefly about the Australian music, as you probably won't be familiar with that. The first concert will include music by Liza Lim, who was born in Perth, Western Australia in 1966. As a child, Lim originally learned to play the piano, like so many children, and also the violin.
Violin, piano and also violin and also violin. Violin degan so'zni bilmasanglar, uxlaysizlar, javob topolmaysizlar. Ko'ramiz. Mana, as a child, originally learned to play the piano like so many children, and also the violin. What?
But when she was 11, her teachers encouraged her to start composing. She found this was her real strength, and she studied and later taught composition, both in Australia and in other countries. As a composer, she has received commissions from numerous orchestras, other performers, and festivals in several countries. Liza Lim's compositions are vibrant and full of energy. And
Full of energy degani energy bo'ladi. Great deal fullness synonym bo'ladi. Energy.
He often explores Asian and Australian Aboriginal cultural sources.
O'z ko'rgazma mana other cultures, various culture sources, Asian and Aboriginal dedi qisqasi. Mana compositions are vibrant and full of energy. Full of degani o'tdi. Great deal of synonym. She often explores Asian and Australian Aboriginal cultures, but drawn from various cultures synonym o'tdi.
Including the native instrument, the didgeridoo. This is featured in a work called The Compass. Her music is very expressive, so although it is complex, it has the power of connecting with audiences and performers alike. In the festival,
Complex edi. Although it is complex edi, qisqasi complex ekan gaplari. Unaqa musicga. Complex, unaqa chiroyli qilib berib ketmadi-ku, lekin Mana it's very expressive and also it's complex. It has the power of connecting with audience. Qisqasi complex bo'ladi javob. Bu yerda sizlarni trik qilib qo'yishgan, masalan, ozoni kutishingiz mumkin, endi kutishingiz mumkin, lekin ozo deb ketdi, ga qaramasdan deb ketdi. Complex lekin javob bo'ladi, chunki biz adjective kutamiz, complex adjective bo'ladi.
We're going to give a semi-staged performance of the Oresteia. This is an opera in 7 parts, based on the trilogy of ancient Greek tragedies by Aeschylus. Lim composed this when she was in her mid-20s, and she also wrote the text along with Barry Kosky. It's performed by 6 singers, a dancer, and an orchestra that, as well as standard orchestral instruments, includes electric guitar and a traditional Turkish stringed instrument. Lim wrote that because the stories in the tragedies are not easy to tell. The sounds she creates are also disturbing, and they include breathing, sobbing, laughing, and whistling.
Disturbing dedi. Chris Lim o'zini orkestradagi soundlarni disturbing deb ta'riflagan. Bittasini o'tkazib yubordik lekin. Disturbing degani o'sha anaqa qiladigan. Anaqa qo'ying. Google Translate ga tashlab olgan. Bilmayman disturbing nima. Shu qisqasi anaqa qiladiganda, xavotirga soladiganmi? Lekin usturi nima o'tkazib yubordim? Nima dedi usturi?
And she also wrote the text along with Barry Kosky's performance of the Oresteia. This is an opera.
Yep. Just ask from Sitora and there are no lessons, you can go. Sure. You can go.
In 7 parts, based on the trilogy of ancient Greek tragedies by Aeschylus. Lim composed this when she was in her mid-20s, full of energy, and she often explores Asian and Australian Aboriginal cultural sources, including the native instrument, the didgeridoo. This is featured in a work called The Compass. Her music is very expressive, so although it is complex, it has the power of connecting with audiences and performers alike. In the festival, we're going to give a semi-staged performance of the Oresteia.
Her performance, semi-staged performance, maybe. Lekin eshitaylik.
This is an opera in 7 parts.
Opera in 7 parts. Job opera bo'ladi. Qisqasi we're going to semi-stage performance of. It's an opera in 7 parts based on the trilogy. Lim composed. She also wrote the text along with Barry Kosky. It's performed by 6 singers, dancers. Qisqasi shunaqa. Lim wrote it because the stories and tragedies is not to tell. Sounds she creates are also disturbing deb yozdi. Ana disturbing yozib qo'ydik. Qiziq. Yeah, we'll just get cut. That's it. You can go, of course. So'z bo'ldi. Davom etamiz. Disturbing dedi. Disturbing top deb yaxshi bo'ldi. Tamam, nima bo'lyapti? Nima bosh og'riq dedi. Nima janjal harakat bo'ldi.
Based on the trilogy of ancient Greek tragedies by Aeschylus. Lim composed this when she was in her mid-20s, and she also wrote the text along with Barry Kosky. It's performed by 6 singers, a dancer, and an orchestra that, as well as standard orchestral instruments, includes electric guitar and a traditional Turkish stringed instrument. Lim wrote that because the stories in the tragedies are not easy to tell. The sounds she creates are also disturbing, and they include breathing, sobbing, laughing, and whistling. The work lasts around 75 minutes, and the rest of the concert will consist of orchestral works by the British composers Ralph Vaughan Williams and Frederick Delius. Moving on now to our second concert. This will begin with instrumental music by British composers Benjamin Britten and Judith Weir. After the interval, we'll go to Australia for a piece by Ross Edwards, The Tower of Remoteness. According to Edwards, the inspiration for this piece came from nature when he was sitting alone in the dry bed of a creek, overshadowed by the leaves of palm trees, listening to the birds and insects. The Tower of Remoteness is scored for piano and clarinet. Edward
Piano and clarinet dedi. Clarinet bo'lajak. Clarinet. Insa.
says he realized years after writing the piece that he had subconsciously modeled its opening phrase on a bird call. Ross Edwards was born in 1943 in Sydney, Australia, and studied at the Sydney Conservatorium of Music and the universities of Adelaide and Sydney. He's well known in Australia.
Hey, shut up. Why do I need this information? Tushunmayman. Nimaga bunaqa informatsiya beryapti menga? Xo'p, aytdim, Tower of Remoteness is scored for piano and clarinet topdik. Xo'p, nimaga menga musor beryapsiz? Tushunmadim men seni.
And in fact, he's one of the country's most performed composers. He's written a wide range of music, from symphonies and concertos to some composed specifically for children. Edwards' music has been described as being deeply connected to Australia, and it can be regarded as a celebration of the diversity of cultures.
Diversity of cultures, cultural diversity bo'lajak. Diversity. Diversity raznovidnost degan. Har xillik, xilma-xillik. Diversity, cultural diversity. Tamam. Mana Edwards' music has been described as deeply connected to Australia. It can be regarded as a celebration of the diversity of the cultures bo'lajak. Mana qisqasi. Mana shu javob.
That Australia can be proud of. The last of the three Australian composers to be represented in our festival is Carl Vine. Born in 1954, Vine, like Liza Lim, comes from Perth, Western Australia. He took up the cornet at the age of 5, switching to the piano 5 years later. However, he went to university to study physics before changing to composition.
Biz ko'rgandik fizikani o'rgangan ekan. Mana this physics before changing to composition. Asosana before changing to composition. Mayli, nima farqi bor? Mana. However, he went to university to study physics before changing to composition.
After graduating, he moved to Sydney and worked as a freelance pianist and composer. Before long, he had become prominent in Australia as a composer for dance. And in fact,
Biz ko'rgandik, composer for dance sifatida prominent bo'lgan ekan. Dance. Prominent to well-known synonym. Before long, he had become prominent to the well-known synonym in Australia as a composer of dance bo'lsa, dance compositor sifatida mana music for dance bo'lajak.
has written 25 scores at that time. In our third concert, Vine will be represented by his music for the flag handover ceremony of the Olympics held in 1996.
Olympics bo'lajak. Olympics. In our third concert, Vine will be represented by his music for the flag handover ceremony of the Olympics held in 1996. Qisqasi Olympics javob bo'ldi. Hamma Olympics bitam Vine o'tkazadi. Olympics bo'ladi. Shu bilan bugungi darsimiz oxiriga yetdi. Hamma narsa tushunarli bo'ldi degan umiddaman. 27 minut bo'ldi. Agar tushunarli bo'lmagan bo'lsa, iltimos bitta yo'li bor. Hamma so'zlarni o'tishing kerak. Listen bir necha marta o'ldirib aytaman, gapiraman, qayta takrorlayman. Og'zim, tomog'im chirib qolib ketib, gapirmay qolganimcha. Listenni yuqori balo olish bu eng oson. Listenni yuqori balo olish eng oson usul esa bu vokabularish bo'ldi. Ayolsa eng yuqori balo olish eng oson yo'li listening eng oshirish eng oson yo'li bu vokabulary. Tamom. Hamma narsa vokabulary bor tarqalyapti. Vokabulary baraka topasizlar, vokabulary baribir 5 olasizlar, примерно 5 olasizlar. Omaddan kelsa. Shu bilan bugungi darsimiz o'z nihoyasiga yetadi. Keyingi darsda ko'rishguncha xayr, bye bye.